Hello, good evening, and welcome to Books and Bush Tea. Welcome back. I am Aniki. I'm your host for this evening, and we are going to spend some time talking about a number of things in the bookish life. And we've had a really wonderful month, right? We spent a lot of time looking at romance. We had an awesome episode on romantasy. Huge thank you to Christina and Kayla for joining us on that conversation. We also had a really cool meeting with Elke Fuhr last week. Elke is one of our most prolific authors in Cayman. She's actually a successful romance author, and she has published a number of well-known books in the US. So Elke joined us last week. We also had, and actually the first episode of this month was one of my favorites. And that was the episode with men talking about why they read romance and what they learn from romance about women. I think that's one of the funniest episodes I've ever had. And we've done really well with that episode. Also, so today we're going to kind of wrap things up because we've been spending time in the love space. We've been reading romance. We've been talking about romance. We've also had a really lovely sponsor this month, and it's funny because this month we were sponsored by Vi's Closet, and it kind of ties into today. So let's take a look at what Vi's Closet has provided and what they do in the community today.
This Valentine, trust your lady's pleasure to the people who understand the connection between the perfectly fitted bra and the crystals we put inside them. Vi's Closet voted best in Cayman for 2025.
So one of the things I loved about Vi's Closet is that they have taken all of the comfort of your bedroom and included all of the things that you would include in there. So they have awesome toys and gifts. They also have a really good swimsuit section. They have supported women going through like mastectomy bras. They also do a lot of really good lingerie, and they go from A to K. Now, that's the side of Vi's that everybody knows about. But the side that kind of ties into what we're doing here is that they also have a really nice journal section. So I'm a big lover of journals. For those of you who know me, you know that I've been journaling since I was 8 years old. I actually found my first journal. It's so funny because I'm going to have a guest on today, and we're going to talk about his writing and so on. But he's from Cayman Brac. And my first journal when I was 8 years old, I wrote in the summer that I spent in Cayman Brac when I was 8, I wrote all about it so I could tell my mom about it when I came home. And it was one of those cute little journals with like Barbies. No, it wasn't Barbies. I think it had like ballerinas and little bows on it. It was very dainty, and it had a lock. So, a lock. Oh, we had a lock on that journal. But before we jump into the journaling segment and then meet our guest for the day, I would love to encourage you to take a look at Vi's and their journal selection, because I am very picky about journals, very picky about journals. And so one of the things that I was pleased about is that they have the kind of journal that I'm looking for. It had the right size spacing, and the lines are very faint. I get so annoyed with dark lines in a journal. Super annoyed. Like, I put the book down. I don't even play with that. I don't even waste my time, because I know I'm not going to get through this whole book if I have to look at these dark lines, and it's darker than my pen. So that's a real pet peeve of mine. And that started in high school. But they have lovely journals, and they're small. They can put in your handbag. And they also have a really nice, like, I feel like when I think of Vi's and what they're imagining, I think of them designing a bedroom and it being not only, full of the garb that you want, but also having that comfortable corner where you can journal. They also have some writing from local authors at Vi's Closet, as well as crystals. And for those of us who are into those things, we know that those also belong in the bedroom. So, but this week's reading, a quick update. I have been reading voraciously this week. I talked about this last week. I was kidnapped. That's the only way that I can describe this. I was kidnapped by Pierce Brown and Red Rising. I was kidnapped. He took me to his world. I spent an entire 3 days on Mars. And then I went to the moon. And then it was, oh my goodness, I'm on the third book now. And I realized yesterday. So I started this trilogy last week. and I'm on book 3 and I'm almost finished book 3 and I've had to put it down because I'm like, I'm forgetting the real world. I'm so absorbed in this book that I am forgetting the real world. And I saw the wickedest news this week is that they're actually turning this into a TV show. And that is super, super exciting to me because Red Rising, what I love about it is that it is not a romance. It is not a fantasy. It is a science fiction, but it's like epic science fiction. It is not just world building, it is universe building. And they spend a lot of time in the galaxy. And but at the same time, it has some of the fantasy tropes of trials. And there is a romance in there, but it's not like romantasy. That's not the focus. There is the friendships are so powerful, and the cause that the protagonist is fighting for is so stunning. It's such a powerful it's just a powerful concept, and I highly recommend it. But I will tell you, I have to get it comes with a warning. If you read this book, just don't plan anything for the next 5 days. I listened to it, so I was lucky that I could do other things, but my life would have been destroyed if I picked that up. If I had to pick that up and read that, I wouldn't be able to drive. Excellent, excellent set of books. So, but I'm taking a break from them because I need to connect with the real world. So I'm taking a bit of a palate cleanse right now, and I picked up The Lightning Thief, which I promised my niece that I would bring for her. And so the Percy Jackson series is a really popular young adult. It's actually, I think it's more like children, like young people and children. And they are so good because they actually talk about these, it's like a school with young kids, or teenagers. I can't remember, but I haven't started it yet. I've bought it and I'm going to start it before I give it to her to read. So this is what I end up doing. She's such a voracious reader that I read the books first and then hand them to her so that I know what she's reading. So we keep feeding her these books, but I have to read them first before I'm satisfied that they're actually safe for an 8-year-old, almost 9. But today I wanted to actually touch base with all of the listeners and our viewers to talk about book recommendations. So I don't know if you follow us yet, but I highly recommend that you do. Our Instagram has become a bit of and I'm going to put it down at the bottom. You can see, well, that's my Gmail. But our Instagram is actually, here we go, at Books and Bush Tea Show. It is a wicked place to get book recommendations. So I follow a lot of people, a lot of writers, a lot of book reviewers. And of course, some of them are more geared towards the type of books that I like to read. But of course, my goal this year is to read outside of my usual genre. So I'm following a lot of recommendations throughout the Instagram space, and I'm reposting a lot of these book recommendations. One of my goals this year has also been for Books and Bush Tea has been to really support our male readers who are drowning in nonfiction and having a hard time because I'm imposing that idea, right? I'm like, that's not true. They're enjoying their reading, but they're in this nonfiction world, and I'm like, no, they're missing out on some good stuff in the fiction world. So there are a few things that I noticed that are showing up in my social media for Books and Bush Tea at the moment, and so I highly recommend that you follow us. That's number one. But one of the things that I'm noticing is that there are a lot of new readers, guys who have started to read recently, and they're picking up cool, like real classics and heavy stuff, and they're reading them and they're reviewing them. Some of them are teenagers, some of them are young adults, and they're talking about like one of the big ones was The Count of Monte Cristo. The Count of Monte Cristo is going through a revival right now, particularly with young men. Highly recommend that you follow our Instagram because then you'll see what the trends are. I also am following a couple of librarians and listen to their podcasts and so on to make sure that we're current in some of the books that are coming out this year. Like I have a list of books that I'm looking forward to when they're going to be released, and we'll talk a little bit more about them as they go along. But I wanted to talk to you guys about what a recommendation, like how we can support you in your reading. So Books and Bush Tea is committed to supporting readers. And it's not just for an hour every single week. on a Thursday night, but it's also like throughout the week. If you want to message us on Books and Bush Tea, we're starting to set up little communities. We're not quite there yet, so just keep an eye on that. But like little group chats around specific genres and so on. So right now we're just playing with the Shadow Daddy fan club, but that's a private group at the moment. So this is like it's the prototype. But our goal is to be able to support readers. And if you're looking for a book and you don't know what to look for, I am very interested in the person who hasn't read a book in a long time and really wants to read a book. And these are the questions I am going to ask you. Number 1, do you want to read fiction or nonfiction? If you are struggling to concentrate on reading, I highly recommend fiction, but you know yourself best. Are you going to be most interested in fiction or nonfiction? What are you going to get through? What is going to hold your attention? And in truth, like what is going to entertain you? The second question, what genre are you looking for? You might not know. But if you are thinking about what kind of book you want to read, and you don't really have a clue as to what the genres are, think about the kind of movies that you like or the kind of shows that you like. And you can ask, like whenever you send a request for a recommendation, fiction or nonfiction, what kind of genre of movie, or even just give me ideas as to what movies, specifically movies that you like, and we'll find it, right? Do you want it to be heavy or do you want it to be light? Do you want it to be super sad, like, or heavy in the seriousness of the book, or do you want it to be light and fun? I read a lot of comedy. I love comedy, but there's only so much of that I can read before I need something a little bit heavier. Do you want a short book or a long one? Do you want it to be high stakes or cozy? Now, it's funny for me, right? I have a weird thing about high stakes and coziness. I am 6'7". Okay. I also have I'm not sure what that comment means, but you can probably tell us, what do you mean by chronicles? So when one of the things that I notice is that I actually need low stakes reading before I go to bed. Before I go to bed, I need my reading to be very, very chill. So that's when I pick up a cozy book. Now I have a full list of cozy books, but I also have high stakes books that we could be recommending. And it's not just recommendations from me. I'm pulling on the resources of the entire community that we are part of, which is growing every day, right? So any other attributes that you're looking for? Do you want something with mermaids? Do you want something with vampires? Do you want something with space travel? Do you want, like, what is it you want to read about and what interests you? And I'm going to send you our email, because think about those things. So number 1, fiction or nonfiction. Number 2, what's the genre? And you can also think of things that are similar, books that are similar, movies that are similar, stories that you know that are similar. Heavy or light, long or short, high stakes or cozy, and any other attributes that you're looking for. And then you can send that to us by email. In our email address, we monitor that very, very closely. I have that close to the heart. So I'm going to send that to you right now. And you can see our email is at the bottom of on the ticker at the bottom. It's booksandbushtea@gmail.com. Oh, awesome. I've got, you want to see Chronicles, something like Chronicles the movie. All right, give me a little research. Pop us a little line on that email. You want like Chronicles the movie, something like Chronicles, and you're interested in dark reality books. So is it dark reality? When you say dark reality, is this apocalyptic or is it actual nonfiction? Tell us what you're thinking about High Caliber, because we'll find something for you. It might not be tonight, but if you follow us on socials, I'll make sure that I get it for you. Or if you send us an email. So that's how you work with us. Like, we can support you to find the kind of reading that you want. I'm going to take this one away and I'm going to bring the recommendation to next week's show. How's that? Does that work for you? Anyone else looking for a recommendation? Please feel free to pop it into the chat, and I'm going to jump that. We'll make sure and work on that for you. Now, today I wanted to spend a little time, because we talked with Elke last week about her writing life. And one of the things that I noticed, oh, you want something spiritual? I have a bunch of stuff. All right. Pop me an email at booksandbushtea@gmail.com. This is completely confidential and private, our email address. If you want to share something, you can share it in the chat. But I'm going to ask you more questions about what you're after, and I'm going to find you the next book for you. I'm going to make that my mission. Awesome, High Caliber. This is a really good task for me to do this week. I'm excited. I have a whole lot of spiritual stuff, but if you're looking for nonfiction, I've got it. Fiction, I've got some as well, but not necessarily realistic fiction. It's more outside of that. So I can look into this for you. But we're going to switch topic just a little bit. You have the email address at the bottom. You can pop us a note at any point, and then we'll be back and forth with you throughout the week. And if anything, what I'll also do is post any recommendations that we make on our Instagram. So I want to talk to you a little bit about writing life. So there's that person who wants to read a book for the first time. But then there's also the person who wants to start a writing practice. And, the first place to start is not start your first epic novel. Let's just be realistic. If you don't write throughout your life now, it's not realistic to just pick up and decide that you're going to write a 100,000 page book. That's unrealistic, and it's probably setting you up for failure. So I actually want to introduce the concept of journaling in a accessible, easy way. Now, my journaling practice has developed over, how old am I? Oh my goodness, 36 years? That is terrifying. But I've been writing since I was 8. I've been journaling. Now, my daily practice started when I was about 13. So it wasn't a daily practice, and it doesn't have to be a daily practice. I recommend, however, that if you're intending to build a habit, that you set yourself a goal of writing for 40 days. Okay? But why would you want to do this? This is something that we really need to look at, because, I want to become a published author. Is that really what you want to do if you don't have a writing practice already? You don't know that yet. You need to get into a writing life in order to know that. But there are other benefits, right? One of the benefits, I'll give you a list of benefits, because the reason I wanted to do this today is because, I'm sorry, my cat of course he's here. One of them is always here. Move your butt, boy. So there's a benefit to journaling that I think I really have only come to understand in recent weeks. But first, let me tell you the ones I understood first. Like the things that I always knew would be a benefit is that I'm record keeping. I'm keeping a record of my life. So if I forget something, I can go back in my journal and find the date when something happened, right? Because I constantly write about, oh, this happened yesterday, and da, right? I also develop my ideas and flesh out my thoughts. And this in the life that we're living right now, in the world that we are in right now, I feel like that is something that we could all spend a little more time paying attention to. Just take, for instance, the political situation in the world. How do you really feel about it? What is your true position? Do you know? And have you given yourself the time? And, these are really good ideas. Okay, all right. Have you given yourself the time to process the ideas? Are you sure that that's what you believe? So interrogating your own thoughts is a very powerful use of a journaling practice. I'll give you an example. Recently, there's been a lot of what I call it rage baiting in the book world because of Black History Month. And there's been a lot of discussion about not reading Black authors, not reading minority authors, and people saying that they can't relate to protagonists that are of color, etc. And I'm like, what? That is the weirdest thing. So I had to sit down and journal about that because something about it annoyed me, and I could not figure out what it was that annoyed me. And I came out on the other side of like 15, 20 minutes of journaling with the idea that, oh, I see what this is. Books have been a sacred space for me where none of this garbage enters. And I have always read books based on them being good books, not caring who the author was. And then I stopped and I went through all of the books that I had read in the last couple of years. I'm like, hold on a second. I read very diversely, right? So this is me like checking in with myself. Am I a part of a problem that I didn't know existed? Just processing the thoughts out loud. and it's out loud, but it's to yourself if you're writing it in your journal. So I also use it so journaling, record keeping, developing your ideas, and flushing out how you really feel about a situation and what you really think. Another thing that I actually use it for is to try out new poems that come to me. Like I write funny little rhymes that come to me, or if somebody says something funny to me, I'll write it down and kind of develop it into something. But also it's a place, and I think where I really got hooked when I was 13, 14, I had a really bad, like a really deep loss in my life when I was 14. And that is when I began to journal daily and processing deep emotion. If you're going through a grief experience right now, or if you're going through difficulty, like a lot of people in our lives right now are going through significant financial difficulty, or family difficulty, or they're grieving. And I'm coming into that decade of life where a lot of my friends are losing their parents, and we're coming to grips with our own mortality. These are big, heavy emotional issues, right? And so I spend a lot of time processing those deep emotions through my writing. This is how I feel about this. And it's actually such a safe place to be completely honest, because it's only yours. But of course, you need to protect your privacy. And that means, I don't know if you live with other people, and that's why a lot of people have actually started to write their journals electronically. So for instance, I know that there's somebody in my life that uses their phone, and they write in their phone, and sometimes they'll actually speak into their phone and record it. But generally speaking, they'll write notes into their notes app, and of course that's password protected. So technology is making privacy so much easier. So another thing that I'm using my journaling for, which are things to do. I'm going to talk about how to journal next before we get into talking with our lovely guest. Who is, by the way, he's from Cayman Brac. Did I say that? Oh, I already did. I did. I definitely said that. I'm excited to have a Bracker on my show. But I build momentum in my projects and with my self accountability. So for instance, in my journal yesterday, I journaled about a project that I am working on, and I was able to identify things I was procrastinating with. So in the procrastination identification, I came to understand, okay, if I don't move this thing forward, this other thing can happen. So let me sort this thing out and do this today. And then, of course, I go back and I pick up my journal again today, look back and say, oh, did I do this or did I not? And realize I have procrastinated again. And so, of course, you kind of get sick of your own BS. So I jumped onto the bandwagon of my journaling, and I made it happen today. So this is just an example of how you can use your journal to create self-accountability. I also use it to clear my mind. So this is the one that I'm starting to understand more. Like, this is the one that I think you write down your dreams. Yes. So this is actually something that I do as well, but I'm going to come back to that. What as I've been practicing this, like I tell you, I've been practicing this for 30 something years, where I've been journaling for so long. But the thing that I am finding new benefits to journaling as I continue to journal. And one of them that I realized, I stopped journaling for about 3 weeks. And I picked up my journal this week, and I started to see myself feeling very listless and feeling very purposeless. So I live in a very fluid environment at the moment. I don't go into a 9-to-5 job. I work from home, and I'm self-employed at this point. And so it's very free and fluid unless you structure yourself. It's reliant on my own accountability. And I noticed that I was getting to this point where I was like, I don't really feel like I've gotten anything done recently. And I started to realize that, hold on, I haven't been setting my intention in the morning. So I don't know what I plan to do. And then I have nothing to measure it against when I'm checking in to see how am I doing. So I don't have a reference point because I haven't created one. So I say all this to say that the benefit that I'm learning that I've picked up in my journaling practice is that I set myself up to win my day. I set myself up to win my day. And it's not intentional, but it happens. So, and I'm going to talk about ways to journal and get a little bit deeper into how I've figured out that this is what is happening. I'd love to introduce to you today this this particular book. If you've never journaled, the practice that is in the Artist's Way is called morning pages. And to be honest with you, I never finished this book. I started this book multiple times. I couldn't finish it, but I feel like I got out of this book what I was intended to get out of this book, which was a journaling practice. So it invites the artist, which is of course you, to pick up your journal and just do what they call stream of consciousness. You just write the thoughts that come to your head, just pour them out, and you as you think it's going to come out. And it's an interesting setup for you to be able to do a solid practice. I highly recommend it if it's something that you are committed to creating in your life as a daily practice, right? But before you get too technical, let's talk about like setting yourself up. Setting yourself up to journal is important. You need to make space in your day or you'll never do it. And if you make an intentional space in your day, you'll remember when you're going to do it. So I'll give you an example. One of the recommendations has been that you figure out what time of day, right? I would take that one step further. Figure out an activity that you do every single day and attach your journaling to it. I'll give you an example. I always make a cup of coffee in the morning. I make a cup of coffee every single morning, and immediately I pick up my pen because my coffee and my journaling are paired. Now, I have been working through some stuff in the mornings for the last couple of weeks, which is why I fell off of my journaling. And it's, I'm starting to recommit to that now. And this happens. You don't do this every day. This is not a religion. This is not a practice. You're not sinning if you drop it. But there is a benefit to choosing something that you do every day and attaching it to your journal practice. Otherwise, you will forget the space that you have created. What do you do every day now? What are you already doing now every day that you can attach this to? I'm sure everybody brushes their teeth, right? So you go to bed at night if you decide that night is when you want to journal. When you put down when you finish your skincare routine and you put on your toothbrush, pick up your pen. And it's also useful to have your journaling tools near you when you're like nearby. So for instance, my journal is at the chair where I drink my coffee. But if you're going to be doing this at night, you may want to put your journal on your bedside. Now I live I live in a house where I know that my privacy is safe. My partner has his journal. I have my own. We don't read each other's journals, and I don't really care if he does. But if you're in that position where you're not quite there, then maybe it's your underwear drawer. Like, figure out where you're putting it, but have it be attached to a daily habit. The second thing, that's the first thing, right? Build the time in your day intentionally to journal. The second thing is to choose your weapons. Now, my weapon is a pen, and ideally, and once again, I'm really picky. So this pen is my favorite pen, but everybody has their favorite type of pen. But I'm left-handed, so I smear, right? So I have to find pens very carefully. And when I say I'm left-handed, I write with my left hand. A lot of everything else is kind of split between left and right. But in writing, you're going to want to be comfortable. You don't want any barriers. And so, for instance, I stopped using those light ballpoint pens years ago because generally, you have to press down too hard. And I'm writing for 15 pages sometimes. Usually it's about 3 pages. But if I'm going for a long write, I know my hand's going to get tired. I need something very fluid. So choose your weapons carefully. I've already told you about my journal choices. I don't like those dark lines on journal pages. So I like my pages to be light, but I'm a handwriter. There are other people who will use an app to journal. They're really cool journaling apps. I tried that once. It didn't really work out for me because I'm so attached to my practice. But if you're starting a practice, build something on something that you want to build that's going to be useful to you. I think my brother uses his phone. I know folks that use their iPads or their laptops. They're really cool apps that are used to write. Like Evernote is a really good one that you could be using as well. Or even your notes app on your phone, or your notes app that is in, I know Microsoft has a notes one as well. But generally, I need a journal with relatively thin lines that are not bright. So figure out what, but you're going to have to try all these things first to see how it works for you. And then you commit to it. Third, so first was create the space, attaching it to a practice that you already have. Second is choose your weapon. Third is structure your writing. So is this going to be a brain dump? Is this going to be a stream of consciousness? Once again, I recommend the artist way if you want to see what that practice looks like. That's a really cool practice that a lot of people have benefited from. But some people journal about specific things. The listener that made the comment earlier on was saying that they write down their dreams. You know, that's actually something that I know. So for instance, the first guest that we had on Books and Bush Tea was Brigida. Brigida writes down her dreams. That's one of her journals. Like her journal prompt in the morning is to write down whatever she dreamed the night before. I'm so sorry. My animals are going nuts and you can probably hear them, but you're all used to this by now. I also know that this can be paired with a religious practice. So for instance, remember we had on Mr. Crawford. Mr. Crawford writes as part of his Bible study practice. My mom has always kept a journal for her Bible studies. So she always has a journal and it's next to her Bible and it's with her Bible studies. You know, I know my brother used to take funny notes of things that his kids say. Like that's one of the things that he journals about. But you're going to find the thing that works for you, right? So a cool one, especially if you're doing stuff in the morning, is number one, what did I dream last night? Another option would be what happened today. If you're doing this at night, it's what happened today. Get that out of your space before you start to get into your head, right? Or you can also do this in the morning, which I also do myself. Start with, what happened yesterday? Now that I've had a good night's sleep and slept on it, this is what has come out of yesterday for me. Another really cool practice that you can start a journaling practice with is a gratitude practice, right? I also like to write lists. I write lists of wishes. I write lists of dreams. I write lists of goals. It's a really cool place to write your goals, a really good place to write your memories. Now, I am going to give you a pro tip that you probably are not going to get anywhere else. This is coming out of my multiple years of journaling. Do not attach yourself too closely to any single method. Write what feels right and do not judge it. I sometimes don't read my journals for years, but I'm writing every day or almost every day. But that's one pro tip. This is not about performance. This is not about the benefit you're going to get in your writing from this is going to happen automatically. You don't have to even do a lot of work other than just write. Like you don't have to review it. You don't have to edit nothing. You don't have to spell anything right. Just write. Okay. So just let go of the perfection is one pro tip. The other pro tip that I have for you is that no matter where you start, make sure that you end your journaling with next steps. So I noticed, and this is the thing, part of my realization this week about my journaling practice is that no matter where I start, because sometimes I do stream of consciousness, sometimes I do a list, sometimes I start with a dream. I've used all of these practices. I'm not religiously attached to any of them. I highly recommend that you use one, stick to one for a little bit until you get comfortable and then you expand, right? But what I notice is that no matter where I start, I end almost like coming down to the point of an arrowhead on, okay, and this is what I'm going to do with this now. So what often happens to me because I journal in the morning is that I'll end up with a to-do list, but it's a short to-do list. It's like maybe 6 or 7 items. Generally, it's like 5 or 6. And these are the things I want to get done today that are going to make me feel like I'm moving forward in my life, right? So start wherever you are. Let it be messy. You don't have to really think about it. Just you can stream consciousness, whatever. And then just kind of culminate and narrow yourself down to your intention for your day. What happens when you close the book and what are you going to walk away with? Right? What is my intention? Who I'm going to be about that? But I've talked enough today. We're going to meet our guests very soon. And we are going to talk in future episodes about setting yourself up to write good fiction. In the meantime, I'm going to recommend that you get your hands on this book because anyone who is writing fiction needs to have this book. It is one of the best outlines of how to write good fiction that I've ever seen. And we're going to talk about this at a later date. But this evening we have, ooh, oh my goodness, Annika, can you journal about my pink blanket that you are going to make, Aunt Jan? Does it have to be pink? So I just finished a crochet blanket for my mom, and I have orders from multiple family members to bring in to make blankets. I'm glad to see you here, though. Welcome to Books and Bush Tea. So tonight we're going to sit down and spend some time with a prolific writer. He was born and raised in the Cayman Islands. He graduated from Lehman Scott High School in 2012. Over the past years, Josh has written several titles for both children and adults, which is interesting because not a lot of people can do both. But Josh has done both books for both children and adults. And through his work, he strives to showcase his versatility as a writer. Josh is a civil servant and he resides in Cayman Brac. So I am going to welcome to the stage to join us now, Josh Dilbert. Hi, Josh. How you doing?
Hey, how you doing?
All good. All good. Welcome to Books and Bush Tea.
All right. It took us a couple months to come together, but
I know we made it happen, bro. We made it happen. I would like to. First of all, I'm so glad that you were patient with me because I have been reading. Like I told you, I was going to pick up one of your books and kind of get a taste for your style. So, Josh, tell us how many titles have you written?
7.
7. Okay.
And
okay.
I'm working on one now. With the 8th one, when that comes out, whenever that'll be, that's gonna be based in Cayman Brac. So I'll let everyone know when that's
Awesome. But I didn't know until tonight that you had done children's books as well. So can we start there? Because I love a good children's book.
Okay.
Tell us about the children's book, because I'm gonna actually put up your author page onto the stage because Josh is, like you said, he's prolific, and I think your most popular one especially on Amazon is When the World Fell Silent. But tell us about, is it Morden Makers was your children's book, the first one?
The Morden Makers was the first one. It was actually written under a pen name. That's Brad Hart. Like I said on Sabrina Talk Show a few months ago, there's still one person in the Brac that still refers to me as Brad Hart.
I mean, listen, you did that to yourself. You gave yourself a nickname that's gonna stick for the rest of your life.
True, but the Morden Acres and Sarma, they're the children's books.
Okay.
And for the first 2, and after those were released, I decided I guess to call it contemporary fiction, romance fiction, kind of thing.
And the one that I read is Rosette Square. This is not actually on your title page. The one that I've started to read, and I remember like you spent a lot of time on that dress at the beginning. I'm like, this is such a good attention to detail. Because I just it was so uncharacteristic of a male writer, generally speaking, because there's different voices that show up. You did really well with that because the protagonist in this one was a woman, right?
Yes, the protagonist is a woman, a Black woman.
Yeah.
Black woman. I actually did an AI video. It's on Instagram to try and portray that. It's a Black woman. That is evident, maybe perhaps more toward the end of the book. This is a Black woman. The negative aspects that come with being a Black person.
Yeah, some of the experience. Yeah. But Josh, what made you want to become an author? Watch his shirt. Look at that Bosa shirt. Listen, man, I've been looking at this shirt, right? And I'm like, I need a shirt just like this.
You
but
like
wait,
it?
so you got it for Christmas? Boy, that is so cool.
A cousin of mine gave me this one Christmas.
Mm-hmm. That you're well supported, bro. And tell us what made you want to be an author.
I hope so, you know.
What's that?
I certainly hope so. I mean, outside of my family, of course.
Of course, of course. But tell us about how you became an author and why you wanted to do it.
Okay. Well, before I became an author, I was a reader, and I was an avid reader as a child.
Mm-hmm.
I, there are three books that I read over and over and over as a child. I actually wrote it down here.
Ooh, tell us, because we know we're always looking for recommendations. I write
Okay,
it down too.
it is The Adventures of Tom Sawyer by
Yep.
that came out in 1876. The Red Badge of Courage by Stephen King that came out in 1895.
Say that second one again.
The Red Badge of Courage
The Red Badge of Courage.
by Stephen King.
Okay.
And A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens that came out in 1843.
Yeah. Listen, man, you brought up some of my favorites. And you know that Tom Sawyer has had such a bad rep since then, because there's a lot of, like, back in the day, that would have been in the 1800s, you said, right?
Oh yeah, there was
Like
1800.
Mark Twain. So that was written in language that would get you canceled today. But I found it so fascinating. It's I always discourage people from canceling, right? Because another one that I like that is Gone with the Wind. And of course, Gone with the Wind is the perspective of a white planter in the South, right? But that book explained my granny to me. Right? You understand? Like there is a history that we need to not cancel. But I love that you've mentioned these, because A Christmas Carol was also a very odd one, right? There's a very that's the one with Scrooge.
A Christmas, yeah, Scrooge. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So you read the classics, man. You were deep in them classics, bro.
I love those three books. I don't know what compelled me to them.
Yeah.
You and I still read them, even
Yeah.
every once in a while. I, I still read them.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, so being a reader kind of led you to wanting to be a writer.
Pretty much. You know,
Mhm.
and then the whole journey as an author that that started when I was 18.
Okay.
The idea for the Mornham Makers that came about when I was 18. That was in 2014, and I guess the idea just came to me. I just was writing on pieces of paper, anything that I could get my hands on to write.
Mhm. Mhm.
Or put it by hand, and then I typed it up. Then I gave up on it for a long.
We do that, don't we? Sometimes we do that.
And it was over a year.
Yeah, yeah.
I tried to find someone to publish it, and I
Mhm.
found the publish it, which was Olympia, the first in the
Okay.
UK.
Oh, nice.
But fortunately, as it may be, they weren't pleased with the sales of it, and they wrote me a letter to creators saying that don't believe this was a successful venture, and we're going to shelve the book.
Mhm.
Basically, we shelved it
Mhm.
to sort of revive it.
Yeah, but that's hard though, because they probably had expectations of you marketing it. Because remember, we had Elkie on last week. There's a lot of work that an author would have to do to make a book successful, and you not being there would have made it super hard.
Yeah, I guess it would. I guess maybe me being in Canada and them being in the UK was probably what people
Yeah, it made it hard.
at the time because the Mornham Makers I think late 2016, 17, somewhere around there. So it go on Radio Cayman that, an article was done in the compass and everything.
So it
But
was promoted here. It was promoted here then.
it was promoted in the Cayman Islands. But then after that, it was just kind of regular life, and then I came over to and then did the article again in the paper, and I went back on Radio Cayman, big up to Sterling, because every time I emailed Sterling, said what day do you want to come on, gave him a date, that was it, that was secured.
Yeah, he was very supportive of I think all of us that were working on that kind of thing. He was super supportive at the time.
Very supportive, very supportive. I don't hear anymore.
Yeah.
Left to run for election.
Yeah. Josh, can you get just one little bit closer to your phone, bro? we've been working on this sound, but you're doing good. You're doing well. But tell us about the genres, because you have done for different audiences, right? If you were to put your books in categories into a genre, what would you say that you write?
It's I think pretty much the last 5 books have pretty much been like romance fiction.
Yeah.
A little bit of romance in them. I mean that's a good thing to have in most books, I feel.
Yeah, I think so too. Like even if it's not intended to be a romance book, a little bit of tension, a little bit of human, affection. Oh goodness, that goes a long way. I completely agree with you.
So
I completely agree with you. But Morna Makers was more like that looks more like a pirate adventure, huh?
The pirate is the biggest character in the cover, but I think that he's the most insignificant character. The main characters are the little rats there at the bottom.
Yeah.
Ironically enough, the pirate is the biggest and he's the least significant, and the rats are the smallest and they're most significant.
Yeah. Listen, man, this sounds like a hell of a concept though, because that was more like a fantasy, right?
It's like a fantasy, it's like I wanted to do a real, kind of old school children's book, like those 3 books that I described. I guess I drew inspiration from that.
Mm-hmm. What is your reading life like now? Because I know that most writers, we are fed by our reading, right? And we don't often read. We have to give up reading time to write and to do life and all these other things, right? But not everybody is a psychopath like me that will give up her night's sleep.
That life gets in the way, boy.
I know. I hear you. Especially when you have responsibilities and so on. But what is your reading life like? What do you like to read now?
Well, I read a lot of autobiographies. I have it here, the list that I read.
Ooh, tell us.
I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCarthy. She used to be on iCarly.
Mm-hmm. I've been wondering about that book. I saw that being promoted and I was like, that is rough. She had a hard time to be able to write. I mean, the title of that book alone is so challenging. And she was being interviewed somewhere when I heard about it. I'm glad my mom died. She's like, it's fine to go no contact.
I'm doing a lot about this no contact these days.
Yeah, you're seeing a lot about the no contact, especially with like parents, right?
Especially with parents, siblings. It's unfortunate, but that's the way of life. That's how I look at it.
Yeah, and we can't judge people. So that was an interesting story because that was her intention, is making sure that people understand that this is actually a valid option. If I remember right. Sorry, I cut you off. So that was the first one. I'm glad my mom died.
But getting back to that, with Jeanette McCarthy, you saw her like Carly and all these other Nickelodeon shows, and you're thinking, oh, that was nice. I wish I had Nickelodeon show I was on, as a
Yeah.
child, thinking, and then you read this and you're like, my goodness, thank God that never happened.
Right? Yeah. Yeah. The grass ain't always greener.
True.
That's a tough one.
So,
What else you got?
Like I said, it's biographies and autobiographies. So I read The Road to Jonestown by Jeff Wynne.
Oh my goodness. You reading heavy things, man, Josh. The Road to Jonestown?
Very, very heavy. I pretty much read a lot of stuff about Jonestown. Every last documentary, I think I read about that.
Really? So you got a little interest in that particular subject?
It just surprises me, how one man can have so much control over people, 900 people. So I don't understand how that came to be. I mean, I understand, but at the same time, I don't understand. If you understand,
I think I hear you. That is so fascinating that we having this conversation now. Do you know last night I listened to Trevor Noah's, you know Trevor Noah's show, What Now? He has his own podcast now. He did a whole episode with a former cult leader talking about how cults are formed. Mind-blowing stuff. That sounds like one hell of a book. I need to get your list from you. We gonna talk after this so I can put them up on socials. What else you got?
Okay. Out of My Death by Darwin, her husband faked his death in a canoeing accident.
Mm-hmm.
England, and that's her take, and the aspects of the marriage, because it seemed to be a terrible marriage from what I In Too Deep by Lee Ritt.
Oh, I read that one. I was wondering when that book was gonna come up. Oh, Josh. In Too Deep.
As soon as it came out, I bought it. I think it was 2019, 2018.
Oh my goodness, Josh. What do you think of that book? Be careful what you say, obviously.
Let me tell you about.
Wait, what is it?
It was an eye-opener about people that are so revered in Cayman society,
But there's also what was his agenda? I keep wondering because there are people that you expected to be named that weren't named. So I'm like, oh, so he's still protecting people, but these are the ones that he's hanging out to dry. Right? You didn't get that sense as well?
Right. I kind of get that.
Yeah. Listen, it's a short book. I read that in one night.
I read.
Oh my goodness. Say again?
I think I read it pretty much the same day.
Yeah. I mean, I was like, what a sapapa.
Right. And The Crossover by Denise Plummer, the famous Calypsonian.
Oh, I know her. I met her actually not so long ago. She comes here sometimes,
No, she passed away.
Did she?
She passed away. I found out about this book maybe 3 or 4 days after she passed away.
No way. When did that happen? Was that recent?
I think it was either 2023 or 2024.
Oh my goodness. Did I know this? I don't think so. But she used to come to Cayman and we used to sing karaoke at the roti shop. I would have loved to have met her. She seems like a very nice person. She was lovely. I didn't know there was a book. You are giving me a list of books to listen to my bookshelf. Tired, but keep going because you've got a good stuff.
And I guess the final one for now would be Unleash Your Power by Dr. Natasha Henry. We actually went to the Layman Scott High School together. She was 2 classes down from me.
Wow. What's the name of the book? Say again?
Unleash Your Power by Dr. Natasha Henry. Now, it's more about her talking in the biblical sense, but she touches on bits and pieces of her personal life. So.
Oh, man, that sounds good. You listen, I am so excited about your list. This is so fun, as well as your books. So let's give the audience one more look at what they can find. There's one book that's missing. There's actually three books missing. No, two books missing. One is Rosette Square, which is the one that you are very proud of. You are most proud of Rosette Square, right? What else is missing from this page?
Well, what exactly do you want to know?
No, so we have you've written 7 books. I see 5 on your author page, but I know Rosette Square is on social media as well. So I'm trying to see what the other one was called. The other one that's missing. I'll tell you in a minute. I'm gonna look it up right now. I'm gonna look it up, Josh. Oh, here we go. Oh, the Prodigal Cayman. Oh, Sarma. That's the one that's missing. That's the one that's missing.
The second one.
Oh, that's a beautiful cover, Josh. That's a beautiful cover.
Oh.
So that looks like it has some space involved. So you got Sarma and Rosette Square, as well as When the World Fell Silent, Brunswick on Toast, Vanilla and Vinegar, and The Modern Makers, and The Prodigal Cayman. All of these are available on Amazon, right?
All of them. I spent about a week or 2 weeks trying to get things on Kindle Direct publishing.
So do you do your own like design and stuff now? Because you're publishing direct, or do you get someone to help you?
Yeah.
That is brilliant. I never thought of that. Josh, that's brilliant. You know, Mr. Crawford uses Fiverr. He gets someone on Fiverr to do that.
Fiverr for 2 of them.
Okay. So that's not bad. That's not bad. But Josh, I'm so glad you came on tonight because we've had a really fun conversation. And you know what's so funny, because you and I were talking about this earlier, where I was like, I keep trying to get my male readers to read more fiction. But now that I've looked at your list of nonfiction, like actually, there's some interesting stuff out there to read. You know, like it doesn't have to be fiction to be completely gripping. But I'm so interested in like seeing the influence of your reading in your work, because I still have quite a lot of your books to get through. But I'm glad my mom died with being the top of your list. Listen, man, you just blew my mind. So I have just a few more questions for you before we say goodnight. And I always ask my guests these questions. It's like my my lightning round. Quick 4 or 5 questions. Which do you prefer, audio, ebook, or good old paper?
Ebook.
Okay. Is that Kindle?
Yeah, Kindle.
Awesome. Fiction or nonfiction?
Nonfiction.
You read nonfiction, but you write fiction, which is an awesome combination.
Weird, not true.
There's nothing wrong with it. I think I already know the answer to this one. Reread, or one and done?
Reread.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I once, you know. Thinking, you know.
Say again?
You have to reread it more than once to get it to sink in.
I feel like you find something new every time you read something.
And that's the thing too.
Yeah. Do you always finish a book, or do you put it down when you don't like it?
Well, I always finish it, you know, even if it starts out boring, it might get exciting toward the end.
So you're one of those optimistic readers.
I'm optimistic, you know, I'm going to see it through the end. I'm going to try and find the good part of it, you know?
Yeah. Oh, we just got some messages in. Finally catching us live. Josh, I want to make sure that people can find you. So I'm going to run your this is how you can email Josh if you're interested in his books. No, this is your website.
That's my website.
Dilbert.
A couple months ago.
So this is it, joshuajdilbert.comey.io. And we also you can also follow Josh on Instagram, because that's how Josh found us. And that his Instagram is @JJDilbert. Josh, it has been such a pleasure to have you. Thank you so much for being with us.
You're welcome. Yeah, like I said, we've been talking for so long, and I was on your program week after week after, I'm wondering, I hope you didn't forget me. I won't get you.
Oh, I wouldn't forget you, man. Gotta make sure that my BRCA is getting taken care of. Thank you so much. Good night,
You're right.
everyone. We'll see you next week. We'll
All
see you
right.
on Thursday at 8.
Okay.